Shall we wrap up with the last beer on the list?
Yeah, this
Okay.
nice, non-challenging, really straightforward one.
That's right. Left the easy one till last. So this is the Tainted Love. So this is a Juniper and Passionfruit sour. So what led you to decide to put both of those together in a sour beer?
Well, yeah, this sort of, again, it all heads back to Beervana. I can't recall, it was either 2015's Beervana, and Beervana would bring Portland brewers over and showcase their beers, and usually pair them up with local brewers to do a like a bit of a collaboration. So I got paired up with a guy called Ben Love from Gigantic Brewing Company in Portland, and he came over with his partner, now wife actually, and Andrea, and she was working for Wild Rose Brewery, which was in Alberta. And I thought, well, you're here, and yeah, we're all remarkably hungover after drinking way too many gin-laced IPAs, which Ben called Pipe Wrenches at Malt House the night before. So let's do something together. We'd actually discussed this, a lot leading into it, but the decision was made. She brought with her one of her farmhouse ales, which used juniper berries. We tried that and thought, this is pretty cool. So we played around with juniper berries. Originally, the brew was I made a juniper berry infusion and then just pumped that into the finished beer. The original one was based on what Ben did. He did a boysenberry sour. In the US, it's very easy to get fat-free anything. So he would actually add a couple of liters of fat-free yogurt and use that for souring his beer, because it didn't have any fat in it and wasn't going to affect the beer sort of going forward, the wort, I should say. Rancid fatty acids or anything like that, not really too good in a beer. But I saw some yogurt bacteria. Wasn't really, I maybe would say I was one of the first probably yogurt bacteria hunting kettle sours in New Zealand, stupid enough to do this. So I found suppliers that would, I found enough bacteria to make 5,000 litres of yogurt. And I was like, yeah, that's enough to sour 1,200 litres of wort. And yeah, gave it a go, sort of brewed it up, chucked in the bacteria, left it for, I think the initial batch was about a 44-hour souring at around about 47, 48 degrees, which is this combination of Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus delbrueckii. And that was all good. Got the pH down to around, I think, first batch was probably around 3.6. And then it was fermented. And then after fermentation, I added the passion fruit juice. So completely different. And meaning it was a very shelf unstable beer that had to be kept chilled at all times, because I had literally a whole lot of sugary passion fruit juice in it. And then obviously pumped the juniper berry infusion. I got a corny keg. I had this old hot bag that I'd made this big juniper berry pulp in, soaked them at 85 degrees over a couple of days in the chiller, 85 degrees into the chiller, let them plump up into the food processor, and then filled it with 80-degree water again, let it chill down, and this nice sort of juniper juice effectively was pumped into the finished beer, just so I could taste it and figure out what it was going to be like. So fast forward, and then we decided to put it into bottle when we did all the rebrand stuff, and I had to figure out a way to make it shelf stable. So this meant fermenting out the passion fruit juice, playing around with the amount of passion fruit juice that I needed to ensure we got sort of similar taste sort of end product, and then obviously trying to use the juniper hot side because we were getting it brewed under license by Hallertau Brewery up in Auckland, and they are pretty awesome with their sour beer brewing, and they probably just like slapped their head with dismay every time they had to brew this beer for me though. But they do an amazing job. It's so good. So the juniper berries were the same sort of thing was done, but they were added during the boil effectively to really get that kind of juniper character out of the berries. And then the passion fruit juice I actually add it now at the start of fermentation. It's a great beer. It's again done really well and won multiple awards for us, and it's probably the biggest crowd pleasing sort of sour we do. I usually have about sort of 6 or 7 sours on tap here at Fork, and that's our most popular by far. People love their Tainted Love. People love passion fruit. Like it's I guess a lot of these American and New Zealand hops that have qualities of passion fruit inherently with them, people want to use them, so it kind of made sense just to not worry about getting the hops and just use the passion fruit. So
to me, interestingly, normally, if you think of juniper berries, they're quite the dominator. But in this beer, they almost take a little bit of a backseat to the passion fruit, which totally surprised me. I was expecting like a gin beer, but it wasn't a gin beer at all. So that was
big time.
It was interesting.
Yeah, and that was always the idea with the juniper. It was about sort of to be subtle and almost be like a whisper of juniper, you know, and yeah, it can be so strong. We've all probably tried beers with juniper in them before, or we've all had our experience with homebrewed sort of Finnish sati or something, and going, whoa, that's like so intense. It tastes like I'm literally chewing on a Christmas tree or whatever it is. So yeah, it was, you know, I think, you know, we've got it's like, for me with wit beer, I love Belgian wit beer as a style. I do one here with Porapito and Kawakawa, and I love just getting things slightly on sensory threshold. Obviously, everyone's going to have a different sensory threshold for these sorts of things. But yeah, this is a beer where it's literally been kind of like fine-tuned. And Hallertau have been really good for that as well, because obviously different breweries have got different systems, and I've been able to pick up the juniper a lot more sort of with more sensitivity when they do the bottle stuff for us than I do here with our keg stuff, and got to dial it in for that hot side a lot more through them doing the brewing there, because you get a bottle from the batch, you're like, oh, it's a little high, you know, we'll drop it by another sort of, you know, whatever it be, half a gram per litre or da-da-da-da-da, and do it that way. But yeah, right now I'm just so happy with it, and it's the point where even though they don't use California lager up there for that for their version, I actually can't taste the difference between the keg version here and the bottle version. And also, it's a beer that I mean, I wish I'd put sort of like, you know, 6 years shelf life on it, because it just doesn't age at all. And it's, you know, I guess that's the joy of not having, you know, it's got, I think in my 1,200 litre brew, I use either 100 or 150 grams of like 2012 Falconer's Flight, you know, old bag of, you know, and that's it. So it's it's pretty much kind of token amount of hops in it. We still call it beer. But yeah, but it doesn't, I mean, again, it's sort of yeah, never ceases to amaze me, this beer. I remember trying the very first batch we did with Hallertau. I'd saved the bottle in the chiller, and 18 months after it was bottled, opened it and tried it. And if someone said to me, this has just come off the bottling line, I would have gone, yeah, it tastes like it's great. So it's so some sort of magic happens. Maybe it's the mighty antioxidant effect of all those acids that come from the fruit, you know, the ascorbic acid or something. I don't know, but it works well.
That's good to know. I think you said something really important for the home brewers out there. The recipe is just the starting point in a way, and then your process is what fine-tunes the beer. And my guess would be, even though we have your officially Kelly-approved recipe for this beer, everybody's process will be slightly different. And if you want to dial it in to actually match the flavor that you want to get, you might have to rebrew the beer a couple of times and just adjust it to that balance that you're looking for.
Yeah, I second that. You know, never, you know, even though you can brew the perfect beer the first time, try and make it perfecter.
Great, fantastic beer. One thing I found really interesting, unlike a lot of the kettle sours in New Zealand, that's not a 4%er.
Yeah, I know. It's I've just actually done a 7.2% one as well, which is actually I'm noticing that the further away from 6% they are, the more drinkable they are. So that's probably a concerning thing. Yeah, it's still, yeah, and it's true. Like the, you know, yogurt and brewsy one I've done here for about sort of 5 years now. It's you know, at 8.5%, 8.5%. It's sort of around that mark. This one's 8. It's just crazy drinkable. And this 4 and 20, this blackberry and hemp and cherry and all sort one that I've just done, is 7.2 and drinks like it's a 4% sour. So, but yeah, you do get structure. You know, I talked about sort of that 6% mark with beer, and in terms of things like astringency, you know, but able to balance it out with alcohol contents and that sort of thing. I think a lot of magical things happen around that number 6 in terms of ABV and in terms of drinkability and balance and intensity and balance of intensity as well. So if you want something with bigger flavor and you go stronger, you can sometimes get an even more drinkable kind of beer at the end.
Just don't drink and drive, guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, under lockdown, then I guess we can drink and brew at home, which is what brought us here in the first place. So I think it's been really, really helpful for everyone having your time and attention on this, Kelly. I really appreciate it. We've just got a couple of things that we need to do in terms of getting the products and the recipes up online. But hopefully in the next couple of days, then we'll be pushing this out live. And yeah, I'm certain that people are going to be very grateful for the time you spent. So many thanks.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for all your guys' hard work as well. But it's awesome. Keep fighting the good fight. It's good stuff.
All good.
It's been a pleasure, Kelly. We've learned a lot.
Awesome. Anytime. My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
We'll
Thanks,
see you
Kelly.
in Wellington soon enough, I hope.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers.
See ya.